If I have an idea when I'm in bed, like that, you ever have those like moments where your brain is active, you have a lot of great ideas? That's where most of my best ideas come from bed. So
Most of my
and the shower.
My best ideas come from trying to do homework.
Yes. All right. Welcome on in, everybody. We're doing some behind the scenes of the latest collab level between myself and Stevo, Gottem City. I have him on voice chat. We'll get started shortly. Hello. I know. No, we don't have a camera today. It's that's by design. This is going to be going on YouTube. Here. You got me for 3 seconds. You know, but so obvious major spoilers for anybody who hasn't played yet. So yeah, Gottem City. I'm going to do my best to try and play each room how it was intended, and then go through the setups for each one. So without further ado, let's start here in the first room. So in the first room, you're presented with a pretty obvious soft lock. You're given a shiny, a little elevator button here that actually does stuff. And you go up here, and it's nothing. You can't really do anything. This is literally just here just because we needed a reference though, for a hint later on.
Very memorable with the weird nothing.
Oh yes, it kind of. I mean, you get 2 tiny balls here with the score, and then you get your shaft, which is all pretty at the bottom, you know. And you just die on the Muncher as you go in. So far, that funny enough, DGR Dave actually just played this, and he just jumped right into the Muncher. He's like, something's gonna kill it. Something's gonna kill this, and it just jumps in it. But you hit this elevator button, and you have a Spiny come up with a spike ball that comes and hits you. That is the first thing, and a POW that falls into this little box here. Let's remove the spike ball and show you why I specifically added the spike ball to begin with. It was originally just going to be the Spiny. But if you stand here and you have the Spiny come up, not only do you have to wait longer, but it's a lot harder to dodge the little Spinies that come off of it. So this little contraption here forces this spring down, which hits this bone shell all the way across here to break this block. In the process, hits this right here. That's what spawns in the Spiny, the winged Spiny. This getting destroyed drops a spring here, hitting this note block, or sorry, question block into this Kaizo block containing the large spike ball. This is just here. This spring right here is just to make sure that the shell flies at just the right angle to make sure that all works. We'll come back to this later because that is part of the auto setup. To Kaizo block detector here. I believe this was of your design, Stevo.
I think you made the entire setup up at the top here, but
well, you gave me the Kaizo detector. What can I say?
Yeah, that's just one of the common ones. That's what I always use.
So originally there was a Kaizo block sitting inside of the four-way one-ways, and people were cheesing the section early on.
We can't have a Kaizo block there, so then it's just a soft block.
Exactly. So all you have that to do is changes your on-off state, which blows up this POW, which actually makes this coin bounce, which will also activate if you throw the POW early, and it will launch this shell right here up this little channel here and hit this question block, which contains your chain chomp, the large chain chomp. All right, and the first on-off change, the whole reason why you can't go up here to begin with is because, frankly, you're blocked. So the first on-off change opens up your path and drops this spring into place as well. So, and then there's, oh yeah, and this changes the on-off state back as well, right here. Right back to red state. So this by all means should not work. It's literally like stuff is crisscrossing. Oh, I'm sorry, this POW doesn't get activated. That's the POW that falls into the box. And like you have the POW crisscross here, you have the shell fly up here. It's literally an X flying through empty space, and yet somehow it's consistent. So, and then you don't find out this hint until later. So, let's progress down our green pipe. Once you've destroyed the Muncher, you're able to come down here. And this was a last-minute addition before V1. I wanted to do like a fake wall troll, and to hide it better, I put the falling platform here. It allowed them to dodge the troll a little easier instead of just hold right being the answer. So if they fall for it, it was way funnier since it was more so their fault. Right here, the overlapped spike and the overlap, these two right here, I gave to Stevo, and then he came up with the rest of that.
Yeah, this entire room is mine, and I came up with it just based on that thing, and then it didn't work because I'm dumb.
Wait, what didn't work about it?
Well, people didn't fall for it, and like they didn't figure out how to get the bone shell and all of that.
Oh god, yeah, that's why we had to put the no Y there, which ended up being funny because people just go, "Noi, what's a noi?"
The thing about that bone shell troll is that a lot of people like try to like walk into it to grab it or something, when I thought the logical thing to do would be to try to get in the bone shell, but I guess not.
That's true. And I don't know. I don't know if you did this on purpose or if it was by accident. But this Kaizo block is just in the right place that if they start running after they get into it here, they hit it almost every time.
That part was not on purpose. That was just for the shell to hit. But you know, it works.
And even more so, people would start jumping to avoid this Kaizo and then go straight into this icicle. I think Carl was one of the people who did that, come to think of it. Anyway, so this Bowser Jr. is just there to center that launcher, which has fallen into place by the time you've gotten there. Players that know that cannons actually don't shoot when you're up against them will hug the cannon every single time and hug the launcher every single time and hit this question block. And that question block contains a spike ball, and this one contains a horizontal spring. Now that used to contain a POW, right? If memory serves.
Yes, that was originally POW, and the launcher wasn't there.
Right.
Like the trap for this was supposed to be that you don't want to ground pound directly on the POW because you think there's like going to be something under it, so you try to go like half on the POW, half on the block, and that's how you would get trolled.
I think that if we had to do this again, something right here with a coin hitting a out of reach note block or something like that would have been perfect to help, I guess, drive the player to the left a little bit, thinking that something's going to fall directly on them if they're on the POW. Yeah, if we had to do it again. And the actual solutions literally hit the POW and come down here at the bone shell. Literally as simple as it looks. So we go into our green pipe now. You enter in red state, so luckily it loads in. Now the whole right hand side was primarily me. I had this room, I think, built when you and I started this whole process.
All the trolls were you, but some of the one of the setups was mine.
You did add a troll in this room, and the setup that I needed to actually make this all work was the infinite on-off changer, which you put together.
Well, the troll I added, you originally had in the net, like right through the door, so.
Right. And the troll that you added in this room.
That's the fire flower thing.
Yeah, we just had to adjust your setup here to work with a falling fireball, which all it took to make that actually go 2 seconds faster is adding this stupid slope and a cloud. That was it. But this whole room had to work around the fact that there's 3 total on-off changes that need to happen. And this right here, the position of this on-off changer is critical to the whole room working. So imagine trying to stuff all of that over here. That's how it worked. So 3 on-off changes from you hitting this and going to the right, and the spring falls down onto this bone shell, hitting this here, and dropping the fireball. Maybe I should show the room too. Yeah,
this one's pretty difficult to understand by looking at.
So you go across. First time you hit it, you have a fire flower show up. You go and try and get it, and it's just out of reach. That again, now it's a mushroom. Again, just out of reach. Number 3, now it's a 1-up. Diminishing returns. And if you stand here, Pokey to your butt. And the fire flower will bounce up here, allowing you to collect it to melt these ice coins that you saw earlier. But that's when you find out you don't need the fire flower. So below the screen, the thing that lifts the fire flower up, and what the whole reason why the items that jump up, that they typically move, they don't come off, is because this launcher doesn't go up all the way. It rides the actual like conveyor belts up just enough until it hits this one and stops. So it's just enough to keep it from coming out of the hole. So the first one you see, obligatory fire flower. The second one, they all stack on top of each other, and that's why you see this, then the 1-up. But again, they're all still there. And the third one is this 1-up, which originally was just used to silence a one-way, but it was funnier where it was put. And it bounces up here with the Pokey, which when you spawn in is just a head. So that'll ride down. But here it is, second, third, and it just clips up on top of the launcher as it's going up. And when it goes back down, it comes off again. When it goes back up, that mushroom is no longer there. And the 1-up does the same exact thing. I guess it's the momentum thing. This part of it, like the changing power-ups, was discovered by complete accident. And then when it goes back down, the Pokey has enough room to jump back up. And the whole time this is all going on, you have a Muncher riding this menagerie of conveyor belts on the bottom, and blows up this bomb, allowing this to go up. So, and this right here, this was also a very late in the development troll, where if the player's running too fast, they'll just fall on here and run past the one-way, because they're expecting to go lower and then just don't react in time. But when that fireball up top from earlier comes down, that is dropped by the claw when you're in position, it melts this ice coin. This is, I think, another one of your setups too, Stevo.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it just melts this, the ice coin dropping the bone shell into the spring, hitting a Kaizo block to activate not one, but two Kaizo block.
Yeah, so this entire thing on the left was mine. Just clip the clown car and cannon through the wall, and like, it's really weird because we needed something that didn't use on-off switch, or at least that'd be a lot easier because of the other stuff going on in the room. So that's why it's Kaizo block detectors.
Yeah, I think you spent a few hours figuring that out, if I remember right. Just that one setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, the donut block here is here just to slow the player down enough so that this can all get into place before the player can continue. And there's a shot of it from above. Oh, and for anyone who did not know this, we're going to scroll to the left a little bit. That is an Easter egg that is in the level. That you can't see this unless you go into more info. I don't think you knew about it until it's like, hey, guess what I did?
Know about it.
And it's the only red coin in the level that you can't obtain. Right there. Okay, so you go through this door, and this is... unfortunately, I feel like this is the least successful room in the entire level in terms of trolls. But when they hit, holy shit, is it funny. Okay, so you enter the room, and you have 3 1-ups and a Muncher fall off the screen. So, super suspicious already.
Now that looks totally normal.
And so the objective is you have to put the POW under the door. But you're presented with a fire flare. Now, if you jump on top of this block, there's a slope on top of that. So if you jump up and collect the fire flower while holding the POW, it just goes into the ceiling. This was Stevo's. Both of these are Stevo's trolls.
Yeah, I've had that troll for a while. I never got to use it for anything.
My God, what's it go? Carl fell for this, and he goes, "I have a hat," and just that's what I'm calling it from now on. It's just a hat. And if you activate the POW, which you really have no way to avoid, it disables the rest of the setup in the room, reusing that same POW detector from the first room. All right, so you get the POW, put it down. You just collect the fire flowers normal, and if you're running with the POW in hand, it just carries it away. I was trying to the original setup for this. I was trying to use a flying machine, and it ended up being way too complex and needed way too many entities to work. So Stevo was just like, oh, let's just stack cannons and have it run away. And the original setup was, instead of using a just the grinder, there was a one-way, but making it run away was way funnier. And underneath the donut, you have two clouds just to catch it. So it's a tooth bumper. And here's what's above the screen. It's very, very simple in this room. We kind of ran out of entities, so we couldn't really do much more. But here in this room, it's just the POW detector to deactivate the on-off change when you run through the grinder, and the coins. These coin blocks are important for later to also deactivate this entire setup. All right, and that's where
behind the saw is just a switch block. Nothing
oh yes.
else.
And that's behind the saw. So down, jump, and that's when you get the hint for the beginning. And unfortunately, most people didn't see this. They just dismissed it. So I think if I had to do this again, I would put a box around it to highlight it. No POW, and most people did not discover this troll, unfortunately, jumping up too high and then being slingshotted around to fall into the Muncher.
If there was a way to set that up, that like going above the screen troll, so that you didn't have to jump as high up, it probably would have worked better. But
yeah, I maybe if anything, just putting the donut a little higher might have also worked. But you had suggested, instead of dropping the player into the box that soft locks the player, do something that throw the player into the Muncher, because that's not expected.
Yeah, because they expect to go left down the hole that's visible.
And then later on, I also put a one-way in here because someone actually POW dropped getting back into this door, and that broke stuff. So, needless to say, that had to be fixed. So you find out the first hint, and here we are back in the first room. And so I put the red coin in the hint room. That's when you find out the red coins are BS. But by then, your muscle memory is hit this button and then go up. So most players only check this hole right at the very beginning. You enter the pipe. It's red state still. You're presented with this claw. This claw used to not be here, and we had to actually add it. I should probably just actually go through the pipe, though. I'm thinking about it because your setup doesn't tend to work if I don't.
Weird.
So you enter this room, and you're presented with a claw. This used to not be here. It used to just be this spike ball coming down, and if you're standing there, you get hit by it. So, haha, dumb troll. People still fell for it. It's literally there to let the room set up and nothing else. So it's literally just people killing themselves for no reason. So a little touch that I'm pointing out, by the way, is that's a smiley face, and I want you to pay attention to that for later. All right, so you hit this block, and I'm fully aware this setup breaks. It could not be fixed without making it a vertical level. So you have the pokies come up. The only place you don't die is where we're currently standing. You go up. It's like you need the key. You got the key door. If you're standing here, after that on-off trigger, you get killed by that pokey head. And then if you go for the key again, you get fished. And so you go up. And I don't know a single person who's dodged this. They fall into the hole, and there's the POW. And yes, we very much could have prevented the player from soft locking here, but the soft lock was way funnier. And
originally, the POW crushed you, but
yes, and it was from below, if memory serves.
Yes.
So people were cheesing their way into the door, not going over and catching the POW, and we needed to make sure the players were actively getting the POW. But look below, the smiley face no longer has eyes, so we see no evil. And of course, the solution is actually to bring the POW back in. Before I get into the actual setups for this room, people were putting the POW down here and entering the pipe, which they can't go back, so they get spat back out here in this pipe. So I put a Spiny here to just fall where the player comes out, and then they die. So that way it prevents cheese. In this room, for each on-off change, to make that POW come out is just a, what are they called, Buzzy Beetle? And it just comes down and hits this note block, which contains a POW with wings. Below screen, more on-off stuff, yay! Let me just show you how it sets up. There you go, and you have the Pokies on the right-hand side. They're waving. Everything is driven around the on-off changes in the room. So let's simulate that. Let it set up. Yeah, that spike ball and the run over is literally all that's needed in order to make the Pokey set up. So the first on-off change, you have the bone shell that makes the vines come up and releases the first two Pokies. The second on-off change drops the bomb into place below me for the position detector. And the final on-off change activates the bomb on the left-hand side, which, if you're above screen, there's a mole inside of one of those two blocks. And of course, because the Thwomp, it's nighttime, the Thwomp is not in the right place. But the block blows up and the mole it comes out. Or is killed, and the Thwomp pounds the note block immediately, sending this upwards at a high rate of speed. The Kaizo block detector is here, same one from the first room. There's that setting up. And what makes the single Pokey head come in from the side is right there. And this kept breaking. It turns out the spring that's on this track here kept killing the clown car. And so I just had to make it go around on the outside, so that's why there's that wide gap there. And it pushes the Pokey into place for the second on-off change. Oh yes, the bone shell it drops the spring here onto the bone shell, which hits this block, turning this into a single Pokey head. Which Stevo was the person who designed the single Pokey head setups from the get-go, and I just kind of went nuts with it.
I think, no, that was your setup.
Was it?
Always, I think.
Alright, we'll run with it.
I actually didn't know quite how this thing even worked until now, and it's kind of interesting that it makes it a head after it's released.
Yeah, it was just... I remember now. Yeah, it was just like I needed to find a way to make it just a single Pokey head in night theme, so I just kind of kept playing with the setup that you made for the main world in that back and forth room. What's it called? And it all started. The whole room started because of these two Pokies right here. The first on-off change for the room releases these Pokies, and what starts the music is this ice block blowing up, and the second on-off change that gives you the key is killing this Boom Boom. So it's just a Muncher on some conveyor belts that drops on the Boom Boom. Which, weirdly enough, I feel like it has a different time every single playthrough that I've witnessed. Alright, so you go through the key door, and this is part of the auto, you'll see that later. You come out the key door. This was, I think, the final troll that we did for the entire level.
It was also one of the most effective trolls in the level.
So I was just like, we need something for this part of the level. We need filler because it's just too empty without something. And so I had 10, 20 different variations that I sent to Stevo, and the simple one with the Kaizo block that kills the bone shell when you kick it, or going from the top that drops the fish on the player, ended up being the dumbest thing that ended up being funny. And so I put the blocks here because we need to have something for the bone shell to be used for, and Stevo goes, put a fish in the top block. And everyone kept thinking, it's got to be the top one. There's so many people that said, oh, the psychology of this is great. No, we literally just put a fish in it.
Well, I mean, if we put it in the bottom one, that would just be rude. So.
It would.
And also, if it's in the top one, you can stand below it and hit it, which makes it even better.
That's true. And there were a few people that tried to go up, but I wanted to just not reveal any of the setup above the screen until it was appropriate, so just a line of Kaizos. Now we come to the, I think, what is my favorite setup in the entire level, and this is Stevo's.
Well, it's just a track pokey going in a clown car, and that's it.
Yeah,
so,
it's,
much to say.
It's the simplicity that makes it the best to me, honestly.
Because in Night Ground, it does that, and it's weird.
Yeah, and it just, so for those who haven't seen it, yoink. I freaking love it. And every single player that has ever played this level has gone for the 30 coin first, and this just vanishes. I remember the conversation we had for this, and it was just, how do we get the player to, like, there's no way I'm gonna end up in there. And you settled on a box that just looked like there's nothing that can get me with this, and
it doesn't even trap you.
But I can just get this. Get the coin of the buy. The decorative tracks are actually part of the auto setup, so I'll be coming back through that later. But this setup right here is one of Stevo's, and the way it spawns in, if in red state it spawns a cloud. If in blue state,
and that's for the auto.
Yes. It is also for the auto, but in blue state, nothing spawns, so you don't see it, and you just go through. Everything gets destroyed except the on-off switch, obviously. So you don't know anything was even there. That was both... It was out of all necessity putting that there, if I remember right, just for the auto section. But we needed something that looked like a troll too, and this pipe was super sus beforehand, just because of the fact that it had... just because it was there, it did nothing. So I decorated it with this platform which drops the player, put a fish in it, and made it look like the player should hit the on-off switch that'll drop the cannon, or launcher in front of it to stop it from shooting these fish. So what actually happened is this would hit the players and then shoot the player up into the on-off switch 95% of the time, and it worked way better. The bonefish with parachute was the original intention the entire time. I can't take credit for it. It wasn't the original intention. And this right here is just to guarantee the specific state before we scroll into Stevo.
So that does the best thing ever, where you jump out of the clown car to hit that block, get back in it, and then the switch blocks push you below and you fall and die.
Yeah, I can't believe it clips you through the semi-solid. That's so great. I was a DGR today. He hit this block thinking he was being all cool, and then he came up here and noticed these blocks, and it was just so mad. So this is another Stevo creation. You come in here, and this launcher drops and blocks the door. It looks like it's part of the clown car the way it's sitting. So there was only a handful of players that actually noticed the door, though, and actually tried to jump in there. DGR was one of them. You come through here, you have the Thwomp that activates at a specific height. The slope was a later addition, if I remember correct, just in case the players turned around and it moved. It didn't change the hitbox enough. But that on-off change gives you a bone shell. If you're holding grab, or if you're on the vine and holding down, this bone shell goes that way and hits that block. So you hit that, you get awe, and your only options are jump into the piranha plant or go in the pit. So what makes this room, how can it work? We have a Kaizo block detector down here again. You have the coin pushing the Thwomp down into position. This right here is for the Kaizo block detector when it goes off, and I had to save a sprite, so I used a note block to throw a bomb down here for the on-off change when the player hits that Kaizo block, which if they're holding up at the time, they go back into the door.
Oh yeah, and that door was meant to be hidden behind that piranha, but you can just see it, so you know.
Most people just go in it. It's great.
Most people see it and then still go in it and then die.
Oh, and then then they get put in it again. They feel even worse because of it. Now we come up here. I really wanted to hide these tracks, but there was no practical way to do it. All you have on here is this block here, which is to blow up a bomb that comes out of that Kaizo block sooner, so you don't have to wait as long. In here I have the launcher just blocking the door, or yeah, door, sure, the pipe, and that's only there if they try to come back in. So that'll be in the proper state if they try to come back through the pipe with or in the next room, without the P switch active, that is. So I think it was Hexadecimal tried to go for this coin, and he suggested put a Kaizo block here, so I did, and that was just another way back into the door. All right, now this next room is entirely mine, and it's literally just, we had what, 4 or 5 entities left to work with, and I did my best to not only incorporate the auto into this, because we needed a whole room that I specifically mentioned to Stevo, I wanted something that the player goes through backwards to help disguise the auto. And so they come through right to left, and for the auto they go through left to right. And so when they come in, you land on the skull platform, which lands on this on-off changer here. And as it turns out, when you have a block in place, the spike ball goes up. There's no reason why it should do that. So when it comes out normal, it'll deploy the parachute down there. But again, with the block in place, so anywhere you're standing on the top of that semi-solid, you get hit by it. So and the only place the player is actually safe standing is right here. So they can hit this Kaizo block, they can hit that block there, get their shell. It's all safe. There's no danger there as long as they stay in this corner right here. I suppose I could have marked that, but I liked it the way it was. And so when the on-off change happens later, the skull platform that you activated here flies up and moves this launcher directly into this hole, which this is just all bait. Every last bit of it is bait, except for the obligatory spot right here. And all you have here is just an on-off change. We're low on sprites, and I needed a distraction. And you're just supposed to go in the door. Once the launcher comes down and lands in this slot, there's a fish. So any player that hesitated here dies to a fish, and that happened a lot. So, very late addition. I'll go over it again later. Is that's nuts right there, and there's D's. So D's nuts. That was
very important.
Precisely, a very, very important part. But the hardest part about this room was disguising the fact that I was integrating an auto setup into it, and it's the only room in the entire level where it kind of gives away that it's going to be an auto level if you look at it hard enough. Yes, most rooms have this one block here, 2 blocks here, but I purposely made them vary so no one would get sus as they progress through the level. We come to our final room before the auto setup. In the previous room, the whole purpose of this room, we just needed to give the player enough time to navigate through it, so this Kaizo block gets destroyed. Now, I'm the one who placed the original Kaizo block, but Stevo goes, we should make it disappear the first time through. So, we both came up with setups. We ended up settling on his because his used less entities and it was way more practical.
It also worked farther away.
Right.
Where you were.
Something I did not know is that a spike ball, as long as it's on the Seesaw off screen, it doesn't roll. So it'll activate this block but not roll.
I brought you a celery flower.
I have been brought a celery flower. But so something I didn't know, not only does the Seesaw not tip if it's off screen, but the spike ball stays in place and will activate anything or kill anything that it hits. So at that point, all you needed was this bomb here. This is all Stevo set up here. And it flies down and blows up this Kaizo block. So if you're checking for it later, it's just not there. or checking for it before you go into the green pipe. I specifically labeled this pipe no because it was way too pick-a-pathy before. And actually, you were the one who pointed it out, too.
It kind of was, but now it says no.
And you go into this pipe, and that's when you discover that it's an auto level the entire time. Just threw some flowers in, hold Y plus right. Now, this right here is just imitating your controller. If you have a Pro controller handy, look at it. It's those buttons, those exact buttons that you're supposed to press. So I piled on the disrespect there. The room that was labeled as dead body reported used to have even more disrespect on it, but we ran out of pipes. There used to be a pipe here that took you to a room that said on your controller.
Also, these hint was so clear that no one knew what it meant.
Yeah. I wish I could have fit like these buttons in the entire room.
Because everyone walks in here and they read it as plus, whatever that means.
What was it? A crad got it right away. Oh yes, there it, I found it. Apparently I titled it Salt. So this was the extra disrespect. On your controller, then a P-switch activates and drops you down to where it says start over, and then I completely blocked off the spike so it was a soft lock. And if this didn't make it any more clear, there's the Joy-Cons on the top right. So anyway, you find out that you have to start over. It is an actual soft lock. In earlier revisions, I did not have this row of Kaizo blocks here. Just because it was, if people collected the coins, they would never actually get it. It actually increased the amount of times it got the player. So let's cover this end room though. Okay, the only troll in this room other than this right here, these overlapping blocks, that is Stevo's. The overlapping blocks boops the player up into this right here, is this progressive power-up for the feather. And so you come in, you collect that, and there is a lag detector above screen to detect if you've picked up a power-up.
The feather progressive power-up was my idea, and it was like the first thing we came up with for the whole level. It's like...
It was. I think this was the first room in the entire level. 100%.
You come in and it's a hint, and then it gives you another power-up. So that's why the clear condition.
Yeah, the original was night mode, and the hint was below the door originally. So that way it just fluttered up into you. But it worked either way. It was very effective. Now, if you come in with... There is a broken track here. If you come in with the mushroom and you collect the feather, this lag detector changes the on-off state. So that way... nothing else gets revealed too early. Now, if you come in as Small Mario, so it completely deactivates the entire setup if you came in small. Alright? And if you came in with the mushroom, that's what transpires. If the on-off state were to change, I'm going to just put myself here. Oh yeah, and if you take damage before it gets to this point, the fire flower comes over and rests on this block here, so it doesn't actually come down. Once the fire flower reaches the broken track on the platform that's right here, it just teleports down to the 50 coin. I felt that was an appropriate place to put it, just because the 50 coin was there the entire time, and people were paying attention to the 50, not the fire flower. I would say 9 out of 10 players would just run into the fire flower and not realize where the heck it just came from, because it does just appear. Now, the next time through, players would wait for it to appear in most cases and then jump over, which is why these Kaizo blocks are here. You can't just jump into the goal. And it lines you up ever so perfectly for this frog suit that drops out of a claw, where I'd say, again, 9 out of 10 people stopped and it just fell on them and got them. And the positioning was the very first place I actually put it to drop it on the player. Ended up being the exact right spot, so that doesn't happen very often. But I liked your troll here, Stevo. Was just boop. So disrespectful. And I was saying to Defender during his playthrough that we dub it the extra disrespect block. Now we cover the auto. God, where do I begin? Probably at the beginning. Let's just show.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So it tells you to hold right and run. And I think that we probably could have gotten away with maybe 1 or 2 less pipe uses, or covered more level if we had more time, but that was not practical. But I think this is built start to finish in about 3 weeks. And that includes 90% of the testing that was performed.
Because how much time did we have to do the contest? It was like
1 month.
1 month. Yeah.
And we started a week later. But and trying to synchronize our schedules with Stevo. I think you said you were in school.
Yeah.
But anyway, the auto throws you into here. Now, I originally was thinking that maybe we should have something that puts the player in here. Stevo tells me have them put themselves in it. for the
Because I thought that would be a really good like twist on the auto metal. Like you do the auto, but then it just makes you walk into a box and die. And
the next room, the Bigler room, which everyone should be familiar with that's played this, I had already made. This was done on stream with a whole bunch of people, but used to deploy fish. And so it's so beautiful. I love it. And all of this is you come into the room and it's 3 cannons on top of platforms that hit broken tracks. And the way that broken tracks work is they just hit everything and then just somehow stay on top. And you needed 3 on each to make sure all of these got hit. This was literally nothing more than just kill the player. It's pretty. And I would love to have done fish, but it's night theme and they would have just done what fish do. It wasn't as elegant. Stevo had mentioned put still no on here. And
no, it was just my idea was just to write no, like just copy what was in the other room and put it there.
Oh yes, and when you go in, I forgot to point out something in that room. Was I have these tracks here? All right, you have this small wiggler come down. I wanted it to be completely hidden until the music changed, and it did. For anyone who played the level, you come in, you get the slider theme, and then the second it comes out, the small wiggler gets covered up by the big wigglers, or bigglers. And the term bigler, I wanted to use it because Carl says it all the time. So that's that room. Now we go back to the beginning for the auto. Yeah, the whole auto starts because of this ice coin right here, which you have just enough time to get to it if you were to run here and jump over. But I needed to also adjust it so it wasn't super spaghetti-full, and actually an auto setup by bouncing the player up first. So there's only about 1/10 of a second once you hit this ice coin that you can get off of it before it's melted. And only one person discovered this early, was Tanuki Dan. So this red coin was placed here just to deter people from holding right and run because, oh, I might need that. And that developed the muscle memory. You progress through here. You're in red state when you come through. And this block will only come down in red state. So it matches your falling and hits this track here, which bounces you up onto this platform. So that way you don't have to jump. If you do enter and it's blue state, that block comes down here and lands on this track, just so you can't see it. We never actually did stop this from coming down in red state. Well.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And again, we're back to this setup again. In red state, this produces the cloud. And by the time you've reached it, the whole setup is gone. Again, you still can't see it. Which, the cloud, once you're in it, forces you into this pipe, which previously you can't enter with the clown car. And you come out in the D's room. When you spawn out of a pipe, a spike ball that we used earlier will roll to the right because they always go into the direction of where you come out of the pipe. So if I were to come out on the left, it would roll left, and if I come out on the right, it rolls right. So
I didn't know about that reuse right there.
Oh, I had to do something. I did this early on just because I wanted to keep reusing sprites, and we ended up needing it in the end. So it's a good thing I planned around that. It rolls over this P-switch, which I tried so many different things to get that to spawn elsewhere, so it wouldn't use up the entity. But that what really was the best place for it. This here is, it's a classic, I guess glitch is really the best way to describe it. There is a semi-solid here so that whatever spawns out of this top block goes up first instead of down. And so that shoots you backwards, and in the process also deploys this Muncher, which blows up this bomb and opening up the path here. Since the P-switch gets triggered after you've come out of the pipe, this bomb also blows up, blowing up this block. The spike is placed there in case you still manage to cheese it, because it is possible to cheese that fire flower. You have to do pixel precise jumping to get it through the previous room. And so that's still there telling you no mushroom. So something to still kill yourself on if you get it through. But it makes it super like non-sus having that there as a result. Its whole purpose is just to, once you've collected this mushroom and taken damage from this explosion, the whole purpose is to stop you so you fall down and you're on the bottom part of the contraption. So again, tying it into where it's completely hidden. This here, the spike ball is still reused again, completely removes all of these blocks here, dropping the fire flower to where I'm standing. And so you've collected that. You'll need the fire flower to damage boost through the saw. The spike ball hits this POW, so it clears your path. P-switch is active, completely deactivating this on-off switch. And since this conveyor belt is not moving, that does nothing either. Having the P-switch active also allows, once it scrolls in, this Muncher to spawn using the star bouncing, to blow up this bomb, opening the wall and opening up this contraption here, as well as activating the P-switch. You'll still be damage boosting by that time. Oh yeah, and the bomb is also spawn blocked. So you can't see it earlier on either. You'll still be damage boosting, so you'll go through without taking damage. That's that first spring doing its job. Sends you back into the icicle, so you take damage, and then you continue again through. Anyway, so this also spawns a second spring. If you are not holding right and run the entire time, this spring does not drop and will actually delay an on-off change later, so you can't go into this pipe. So there is some implementation to make sure you're holding right and run the entire time. Part of this spawn-in that is important to the actual timing is this bomb and this block here. This block contains a vine. I don't know why I made it contain a vine. It has a vine. But this bomb also spawns roughly around the same time, falling under this track, and gets lit here every time consistently. This mushroom falls. That's what comes down here, and you collect at this exact point as it falls there. But that bomb travels down this entire track to blow up this block. I reused this track for the skull platform to blow up this block by having the bomb fall on it. And we go to the underside of the screen. We also have this block here, which in the wrong state will just go off and fall, so it doesn't actually come up. So you enter the room in red state. It doesn't really matter now that I'm looking at it. Either way. It was a safety precaution. This block right here is strictly just to blow up this bomb quicker, and that's it. But this block follows this track here. It is timed, so it reaches right here. If the seesaw is still going up, these fire flowers only drop when the P-switch is active, lifting the seesaw, and stops you from running onto it, having too much speed. But it allows this block to get blown up, as well as this block to get blown up right here. This Thwomp only spawns when the P-switch is active, and will only hit this up once it loads. So there's nothing actually stopping it from hitting the note block except the P-switch. which I needed to keep the P-switch going, so I used a boom boom and a P-switch. So this setup comes up, blows up this block here, and again, semi-solid setup with a spring in the top one that when you drop off of this seesaw, lifts you up and puts you into the pipe. I think it was it one, maybe two setups you had in the auto, Stevo?
I think it was just the cloud spawning and the box.
I like, and because I designed the auto around the entire level, oh man, every change, every single change had to be tested. Just to guarantee that this was always in the right state when this bomb exploded, I had it changed to blue state with this right here once it loaded in. This was all super suspicious, but putting that Kaizo block with the coin there surprisingly disguised the rest of it, and so it didn't look suspicious. This was just a dumb... We were laughing for, 15 minutes or so?
When someone died today.
It was Demise, the first one who fell for that. And, yeah, it was watch out below. Demise let go of his controller and just fell onto the spikes. And I put that there as just... We were laughing like how funny it would be if we put that there and someone still went into the box after getting the reminder. And that's the whole reason why it exists. But because you can hit the on-off block right here, I wanted to guarantee that you couldn't enter this in the wrong state, so I had to put a red block here. So most people, because they're following the auto's instructions, don't get this mushroom. And I emphasize most.
When the people who did get it usually got trapped.
Exactly. Which discouraged its collection later. But this right here, this falls regardless of what state it's in, whether the P-switch is active or not. Now, granted, it doesn't typically spawn in because it's more than 3 blocks in, so it wasn't really like critical that I block it spawning. But its whole purpose, that 1-up, is to spawn a large spike ball, which is what opens your path later. And this is just enough out of sight in every situation that you can't see it. So I didn't put a slope or anything. I just let the spike ball fall. This block does need to be here, just so it doesn't break the spike ball on the way down. Again, another thing that needed to happen is spawn block this 1-up here, which drops a Muncher onto this bomb, opening up the wall again. Originally, this was a spawn blocked launcher that Stevo gave me that just fell onto a parachute bomb, but I needed the entity. So,
what is that Kaizo block?
Oh, so some people got smart and was like, I'll just jump to the other side, so I put a Kaizo block. It's gotten one person. And they went right into here. So it was a perfectly placed Kaizo for one person. And then that's where the auto ends. It's just you have to collect the mushroom here in order to beat the level. Most of the auto setup is really just based around timing of where the player is. But I think that given 3 weeks, we accomplished quite a bit. Oh yeah, and just so you could all see it. D's on the top left, nuts on the right. That was literally the last thing I added before I sent it to Carl too, by the way.
Who suggested that?
Oh, I remember seeing the trailer for Failing the 7 Cs. And you guys had D's nuts with the written in it as in the trailer itself, so I was like, I gotta see if I could work that into the level somehow, because that's funny. But yeah, overall, we actually had quite a bit of space left in this. Normally, I run out of space before I run out of entities with anything.
Yeah, me too. But
oh yeah, and this was all just spawned in from note blocks just to save the 2 entities as well. Again, we needed them. But I think the most technically complex level rooms in the entire level are the first room, because of how much has to occur in it, and that
running
room right
back
there.
and forth room.
Yeah, which literally I think if this adjustment hadn't fixed it, would have been removed from the level, because when Chichiri played through it, there was only this little bit right here, and he was just walking back and forth, defeating the purpose of it. And everything else, like the one thing I have to say regarding how you build levels, Stevo, is your setups are shockingly simple. I think half the setups you sent me required 3 or less entities, and then I just like reinvented the wheel for half the stuff.
You know, I thought my setups weren't that simple until I started seeing how other people build levels.
Yeah, like I understand why I like how Defender builds so much, because him and I have very similar ways of thinking in that sense, just to make one giant machine. But I have nothing
you have
but
in mind what you want to have happen, and then you just build a giant machine to do it.
Exactly, and I have nothing but respect and admiration for people who could build as simple as you do. So, and it's absolutely incredible what you can accomplish with such little stuff, you know. But that's pretty much the whole level. Oh yes, and we had plenty of entities left in the subworld. It was all the main world that we ran out. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Literally just schlepped into the image. just because we had them. It was great for adjusting the shading. If we had the room, we literally could have added more trolls because of that. Anyway, I think that concludes it. Ladies, gents, germs, thank you everyone for coming today. Steve, thank you for joining the call. I know I did most of the talking, but it means a lot that you're able to come on and explain things that I didn't know how to explain, and then comment on your setups as well.
Yeah, it's fun.
Definitely. Bye, everyone. Oh, I have literally been brought a watermelon. Thank you.